Hey guys, it's Danielle. I wanted to make a quick video tonight to kind of go over a few things that you need to be looking at as far as planning for next week. The first thing I'm going to want you guys to do is get out your book that came with your challenge pack or with your kit, whichever you ordered. But turn it to page 4. And there's a little calculation on here that teaches you, it gives you a number. And with that number, it'll give you a calorie target. Then you will go to page, if I can find it. Sorry, I thought I had it marked. There you go. Page 19. It'll look like this. You want to figure out which calorie bracket you are going to fall into. And these are the numbers of containers that you will eat depending on your bracket that you fall into. I wanted to talk a little bit about the containers. Obviously, if you guys are in this group, you own the containers or have ordered the program and will receive the containers. But I've had questions in the past about people not really understanding what the containers are for. The way I explain it is the containers are used as measuring cups, pretty much. So if it says you need 3 greens, so here's a green container. If you fall into this first calorie bracket, the number 3 there, it means you need 3 servings of a vegetable or vegetables that fit into that green container. So I know that when you look at them, they seem kind of small, but we use them for the hammer and chisel program. And like I've mentioned before, I've done quite a few rounds of the 21-day fix, and the containers, I call them my Mary Poppins containers because they really hold a lot of food. So don't be kind of turned off by the size of them in the beginning. Go ahead and do that. But they're not really used. They do come with lids, so if you need to pack them and take them somewhere or pre-portion, you can, but I don't even really use the lids most of the time. I just use them as scoopers. And I scoop my meat into the red. I scoop my vegetables into the green. Scoop your fruits into the purple. And then I kind of either pour them on a plate or I pour them in a container to take and pack with me. On Thursday night, like I mentioned, I'm going to do a live call with you guys so that we can go over different ways to meal plan. But I did want to kind of go through and touch on a few things in this book. And also, before I say that, before I go through any more of this, if you have ordered your challenge pack this week and you will not receive it until we start or right before we start, you can log on to Beachbody On Demand. You get a free 30-day access to that site. And all of the printable materials are all in there as downloads. So you could download that and read your book and kind of go through and do what you need to do through that way. So back to what I wanted to talk about. In the book, there are lists of foods that fit into each container. It kind of goes through and tells you each thing. But like, for example, kale, you're measuring kale raw or cooked into that container. But for example, it talks about asparagus. Well, asparagus spears, you can chop them up if you want to and put them into the container, but it also gives you a number of, okay, well, how many spears would be considered a green container. The way this program works is it works off of volume and caloric intake. And so some of the containers get a little confusing because you're like, wow, that seems more than a container, but it also has to do with how many calories each food has. This autumn system is kind of based off of the macros concept. If you know anything about nutrition science, you're working off of nutrients. And so they're all in balance. And so it's really important that you hit your targets for each one of those containers because that container works as a balance. Like, so your 3 reds are going to work in conjunction in the chemistry of your body with the 1 orange, with the reds, with the purple. Like, they all, your body is synergistic in that way. And so these are done in a way that work optimally together. And so you're going to want to try to do that as best that you can. I understand some days it's not going to work. I get that way. I get busy and I forget sometimes to fit in a green or to fit in a red. But hopefully the meal prepping and planning that we're going to do is going to help eliminate some of some of those issues. Excuse me. Another thing she talks about in this book that I found extremely helpful. Let me see if I can find it so that I can read her. And I'm not going to read it to you. I assume you know how to read. If you don't, I can read it to you. But she talks about in here what to do if you're not in control of your food portioning. And I, in the beginning, really struggled with that because if we go out to eat or if I'm with friend or with family and I'm not able to kind of stick with exactly this, she kind of goes over, and I'm sorry I'm not looking at the camera right now because I'm trying to find it, but she kind of goes over and touches on approximately what some certain things are worth, and I can't seem to find it right this second, but it is in here. And oh, here we go, restaurant food, that's what it's on. So page 79 toward the back, she gives an example of a food and then portions to check off. I found that very helpful when going out to eat, and I feel like this page is often overlooked in the beginning when you're starting the program, so certainly check that out. She also includes some eating plans of her own. We'll touch on that Thursday night a little bit. And please also know that I will be recording the session on Thursday night. So if you aren't able to make it in the time slot, just know you can watch the video, but it will be longer. So I'm looking at probably 30 to 40 minutes to spend with you guys. The other thing that I wanted to touch on that really, she does touch on it in the book, but I wanted to kind of go over it with you, is you may want to go ahead and start drinking your Shakeology this week if you've already got it, so you can kind of work out any kinks. Some people do have issues with it if it's brand new to you in the beginning because it is such a dense dose of nutrients all at once. And if your body is not used to that, you might kind of go into a little bit of a nutrient shock. And so we can kind of tweak it and work it so that you are feeling comfortable with it. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about is I personally prefer to enjoy my Shako, so I make it with ice. I put it in a blender. I do that sort of thing, and I make it more of a smoothie. If you don't have time for that, and that's your hurdle to overcome, it is so incredibly dense in superfoods and so worth it as far as vitamin and mineral content goes to fit it in anyway. So shake it up and chug it back. Take it as a daily dose of vitamins instead of a treat that you're trying to savor and enjoy. So I would encourage you to go ahead, like I said, and start working on figuring out when it's going to be best fit into your schedule. For me, it best fits into my eating schedule in the morning for breakfast. If I can't fit it in like first thing for breakfast, then it goes into my morning snack. I do eat it for lunch sometimes, but most of the times I prefer to have, if you want to call it solid foods, I prefer to have solid foods for lunch. But I have lots of challengers that have drank it for lunch and find it very successful. I just am generally busy during lunchtime, so I can't like stop and blend and make it the way I enjoy it. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but sorry that my voice is kind of cracking tonight. I think I'm losing my voice, but hopefully it'll be good by Thursday. So I look forward to answering all your questions, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night. Bye.